MASH made Alda famous, but nearly destroyed him. Cast members stopped talking to him. One brawl halted production for 3 days. Alda endured illness and discomfort to appear in practically every scene for 11 years. Since age 8, I've wanted to be a great writer. When they told me I won an Emmy for scripting this show, I cartwheeled to the stage. No one knew his tragic family secret. Fans were startled when he revealed his diagnosis in 2018. You might be astonished to learn that I've never publicly announced my Parkinson's diagnosis. Disease symptoms began years ago. Alda is experiencing his most difficult period today. Alda was born in Manhattan on January 28, 1936. His name was Alfonso Joseph de Abruzzo. Actor and singer Robert Alda was his father. Joan Brown, his mother, was Miss New York. Alan was surrounded by showbiz from the start. However, this wasn't Hollywood glamour. This was loud, dirty, and authentic. His boyhood home was a modest 2-room flat above a bar. He could feel the music shaking the floor while sleeping. Alan heard jazz, laughter, and musician buzz, while most kids heard goodnight stories. Darkness lurked beyond the music and lights. At age 6, Alan saw his mother try to knife his father. She had schizophrenia. No one called it that then. Though he didn't grasp the word, he felt fear. He lived in a family where a grin could be dangerous, and quiet could imply something was seriously wrong. That moment altered him. He learned to sense moods, stay vigilant, and settle turmoil. At 7, Alan developed polio. Fear of the sickness was widespread in 1943. His left leg suffered. Instead of an iron lung, his parents brutalized him. Hours were spent stretching his muscles in heated wool. The pain made him scream, sometimes chewing material to stifle it. After his father made jokes to divert him, something clicked. Alan saw that pain and fun could coexist. His career revolved around that lesson: humor amid suffering. Alan toured with his father's burlesque troupe that year while healing. His school was backstage. Dancers, comedians, and musicians were his classmates. He took in every gesture, joke, and information like a sponge. He learned rhythm, timing, and crowd control. Alan was learning stage ownership while most students were learning fractions. He viewed the world's beauty and rough edges from theater wings in tiny towns throughout. Alan had performed previously. His father brought him on stage as a real baby for a comedy performance at 6 months old after a theater prop broke. That was his debut. Before age 4, he did 17 concerts. Alan found applauding natural. At 3, he expected it after dinner. He asked a pal, "When does the audience arrive?" Performance was profoundly ingrained in him. He was not always Alda. His father invented that name. He took Alda from his first and last names. It fit theater posters better, and was easier to pronounce than d'Abruzzo. Alan preserved his name when he started acting. Things didn't improve at home. His mother got sicker. Alan could sense something was awry by glancing at her eyes by age 11. She sometimes whispered to herself or burned notes. She held a knife over his bed, believing someone was poisoning her. They fled 11 times from imagined spies she thought were in the walls. No one mentioned it. Not in school or family. Alan took care of her part-time. He used comedy to cope emotionally. He began performing during school lunches. He stored over 70 jokes labeled by emotion in a notepad. He line by line copied Bob Hope and Jack Benny radio scripts to learn comedy. While his mother was in the hospital, Alan created humorous characters with voices and movements at 13. He didn't cry when things went wrong. He performed. Alan entertained the crowd when his mother broke down at a school play. That night, applause spared him disgrace. Archbishop Stepanak High School in White Plains gave Alan stability. He performed in 4 major plays a year and worked weekends at a radio station. Despite his busy schedule, he maintained a 3.8 GPA. Father Matthew Conlin, his instructor, noticed something remarkable in him. Alan did a tough Romeo and Juliet speech so successfully in class that some felt he was professionally trained. Everything was self-taught. He spent his life studying people, pain, and timing. In the early 1950s, Alan Alda attended Fordham University, but life was difficult. Hallucinations sometimes accompanied his terrible sleeplessness. It all stemmed from his childhood polio treatments, pain, and anguish. In 1953, things changed. Found sanctuary. At college radio station WFUV, there, he spent up to 14 hours a week learning everything about broadcasting. That became his universe. Things nearly fell apart when he was seen questioning a local official about segregation live on air. Bold for the time. The station nearly expelled him. A professor diagnosed him with vocal cord nodules. At the same time, he realized his voice wasn't strong enough for acting. Alda persisted. He practiced his voice regularly, reading Shakespeare loudly while gargling salt water. His voice improved under Eleanor Stieber, an opera coach. He defeated 78 students in the 1955 Jesuit oratorical contest with a furious civil rights speech. The university president, who warned him, stood and applauded. The same year, Alda went to Europe. Disasters plagued his junior year abroad. He was robbed of his passport, visa, and money in Paris. He tutored wealthy French families undercover to live. He lost all his notes when his modest flat flooded twice. He had 9 days to redo a semester's work. He appeared in an unauthorized Roman Forum production of Waiting for Godot. A play was interrupted by police arresting the entire cast. Alda was jailed for 37 hours before the U.S. Embassy released him. Amsterdam followed. He developed an adverse reaction to stage makeup while working with his father on a TV program. Anaphylactic shock struck 7 minutes before the transmission. Unable to breathe. He went on stage and played for 42 minutes while adrenaline-filled medics waited off stage. He never forgot that awful event. For the rest of his career, he advocated for actor health protections. He joined the Army 1957. Many think his time was uninteresting, but it wasn't. He operated in Project Stargate, a secret psychological ops squad, according to 2012 declassified documents. He created fictitious identities for training missions using his theater skills. The second fastest codebreaker, he learned to decipher codes at 100 to 27 words per minute. In his 346 group, live bullets were unintentionally loaded during an exercise one night. Just over 8 inches separated 2 shots from him. He didn't realize until decades later that the Army stored his name on a recall list until 1971 for national emergencies. Their experience shaped the cynical, authority-hating doctor he played on MASH. A year before his Army duty, something unexpected happened. In 1956, Alda met Arlene Weiss at a Manhattan dinner party. Everyone repeats the story of eating cake off the floor and falling in love. But there's more. The dinner wasn't random. Arrangement by Leonard Bernstein. He thought they were mentally compatible. Vlad Ashkenazy hosted the party in his residence, the Russian pianist. Bad start to the night. Alda mocked Arlene's research. Narcissistic acting dreams, she said. There was tension. Arlene then knocked over a rum cake during a Jean-Paul Sartre debate. Both bent down, laughed, and ate it from the floor. That was pivotal. Her chuckle lasted 27 seconds. He never forgot. They married on March 15, 1957, but it nearly fell apart. Alan's infected wisdom tooth required emergency surgery 2 days prior. His face was bloated in all photos. Their scheduled church flooded the night before. Their wedding was in composer Richard Rogers' apartment. Their rings vanished 90 minutes before the ceremony. Alan's 4-year-old cousin stole them. They didn't discover their marriage certificates whites instead of Weiss error for 25 years. Nothing mattered. Even though physicians advised Arlene against pregnancy owing to her heart condition, they married for 66 years and had 3 daughters. Alda declined a significant Broadway part in 1962 to avoid being away from Arlene's second pregnancy. That choice influenced everything. Family always came first. Alda's acting career was gradual. He debuted on Broadway in 1959 in Only in America, but critics compared him to his father, Robert Alda. People dubbed him Robert Alda's boy. He has his father's looks, but not his charisma, noted one director. That comment haunted him. He turned down 3 jobs between 1960 and 1962 because they resembled his father's roles. At one time, he pondered abandoning acting for advertising. Things changed in 1966. The musical The Apple Tree required Alda to play 3 distinct characters. Despite having bronchitis, he practiced every morning, often after throat hydrotherapy. He performed on opening night despite a fever. Nominated for Tony, he starred with Diana Sands in Broadway's first interracial romance, The Owl and the Pussycat, the following year. 47 letters of hate were written by theater-goers. However, Alda gave a 6-minute monologue with 17 emotions. Acting schools studied that scene. Alda trained like an NFL player for Paper Lion, his first major film, in 1968. His concussion and 3 broken ribs occurred while filming. After 4 minutes of being knocked out in front of a stadium crowd, he kept acting. The frightening body possession picture, The Mephisto Waltz, followed in 1971. Alda practiced piano 6 hours a day for 4 months before learning they'd utilize a hand double for close-ups. Also, weird things happened on that set. The studio was strangely cold, lights flickered, and cameras began breaking. That shoot was kept private for over 20 years by Alda. Still, rejections continued. He was rejected for 32 TV roles between 1962 and 1971. He reached Uncle's final round before being cut. He wasn't scary enough, the network said. He borrowed rent since he was broke. He filmed a pilot, We'll Get By, in 1967 that did well in tests but was not released. His contract prevented him from working for 18 months. Dinner Theater in Pennsylvania paid $175 a week in 1972, and he lived off peanut butter and shared a room with 4 other actors. He set a deadline. If nothing changed by September, he'd quit and teach. Each has its own delight. Acting is blissful. One is doing well. You're airborne. Yeah? The feeling is great. MASH followed. Alda nearly missed the audition. In Utah, he was filming The Glass House and had to get to Los Angeles that night. His agent rented a jet, but the pilot was ill. They landed early in Nevada. Alda traveled 270 kilometers at high speed in a rented car using his grandfather's pocket watch as collateral. At 9:17 p.m., he arrived at the studio. The casting director was leaving in makeup. Unprepared, Alda gave a raw performance that got him the job. Alda delayed her acceptance. He demanded time off every 4th weekend to see his New Jersey family. The studio declined, stayed firm. They finally agreed, but he had to pay for the airfare. He spent $187,000 on the show. He never disclosed it until decades later. Alan Alda lived Hawkeye Pierce. Alda appeared in practically every MASH scene for 11 years. Only a few of 256 programs were missing. He overcame illness, exhaustion, and burnout. In 1978, he taped a full episode with intestinal sickness and 103-degree temperature. A medic remained off-camera, ready to help. In 1979, things escalated. Mondays to Wednesdays he acted. Thursdays he directed. Fridays he wrote. He learned 30 pages of lines daily. He fainted on set from exhaustion that year. Without alerting him, the production hired a body double for long shots. Alda wanted a complete reshoot after learning the truth. And they did. Not just acting Alda, he took more control because he wanted it. He penned his debut episode in 1975 and became the show's creative force. When chief writer Larry Gelbart left, Alda stepped it totally. By season 6, he had covertly modified almost half the dialogue in episodes he didn't write, according to studio documents. He was noted for successive takes. Radar had power after 47 trials in one scene. Having all these folks on the side while playing a scene for the camera was like having the audience in the wings. Beginning in season 5, Alda may destroy any script he believed didn't fit the show's message. Therefore, 14 entire episodes were never telecast. Despite appearing to treat Alda like a cast member, CBS had to consult him on creative decisions by season 9. Writing or co-writing 31 episodes. He directed 32. That's approximately 25% of the show, plus weekly cast leadership. Awards followed. He earned Emmys for acting, writing, and directing for the same show in 1 year. No one had ever done it before, 1979. He risked his career to air a sexism episode. CBS refused to run it, but Alda threatened to leave. They yielded. He received his last acting Emmy for MASH in 1982 after a difficult episode that left him with arm burns from refusing a stunt duplicate. Things weren't so smooth behind the scenes. Trapper John, Wayne Rogers, left after 3 seasons. His 2019 contract revealed that Alda getting 80% of their shared moments was a big cause. Harry Morgan fought Alda in season 6 after Alda changed one of his dramatic scenes. The set was closed for 3 days. Alda's controversial shower scene nearly drove Loretta Sweet away. Set lunches were eventually split. Those who supported Alda sat at one table, others at another. Also, Alda authored the finale. He directed it and kept the plot a secret until days before filming. Thus, the cast's tears would be genuine. It succeeded, but not everyone forgave him. David Ogden Stiers was so offended he didn't talk to Alda for 6 months. From the chopper, the iconic goodbye, that was Alda's third idea. CBS rejected the first 2 for political content. In addition, he was writing movies. One was Joe Tynan's Seduction. It was written in the midst of MASH, often around 3 a.m. He earned over $20 million and a Writers Guild nomination. During filming, he reworked over half the script, battled with the director, and convinced Meryl Streep to do the role after 7 rejections. His directorial debut, The 4 Seasons, followed. Studios weren't convinced. It made nearly $50 million, despite being a small release. Alda insisted on capturing true seasonal changes for 13 months, costing over $1 million. After Carol Burnett contracted ill, Alda rewrote 31 scenes instead of replacing her. He concealed gallbladder attacks for most of the film. My excitement is how good the picture is. You go to movies, are in movies, or hear about movies, and they're usually decent. In 1992, he surprised Hollywood again. In Whispers in the Dark, he played a cruel psychiatrist. It contradicted his MASH image. He viewed real treatment sessions and interviewed 2 convicted murderers to prepare. He lost 27 pounds, studied with a zoologist, and learned to speak calmly but creepily. This part was so severe it impacted his marriage and gave him nightmares. But it worked. Disturbed audiences. Critics commended him for changing his image. Alan Alda was famous for decades, but things quieted in the early 2000s. MASH fame faded. In 2004, things changed. The West Wing, a political drama with crisp writing and great characters, hired him. Alda played California Republican Senator Arnold Vinnick. This position was a change for him. His real-life views were liberal. Vinnick was a conservative who opposed corporate gifts and religion influence in politics. He appeared multiple times. Alda appeared 28 times. Episode 8 of Season 6 was his first. The episode 13 opening credits included his name. That alone spoke much. Not simply a guest. He was crucial again. Powerful and polite, his character became Secretary of State to close the series. It reminded the industry of Alan Alda's value. The Emmys followed. At 70, Alda received his 6th Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a drama series in 2006. 24 years after his 1982 Emmy, he won again. He defeated Gregory Eitzen, William Shatner, Oliver Platt, and Michael Imperioli. That moment proved Alda was still a TV powerhouse decades after his comic days. The same year, another major event occurred. First Academy Award nomination for Alda. He was 68. He played Senator Ralph Owen Brewster, an unscrupulous politician trying to overthrow Howard Hughes in The Aviator. Alda's role was darker than usual. Leonardo DiCaprio initially doubted Alda's abilities. He thought he was too kind. Even DiCaprio changed his mind after viewing Alda's work. Despite nomination, no win. Alda returned to Hollywood discussions after Morgan Freeman won the Oscar. Not just MASH Man. What transpired next demonstrated it wasn't a one-time comeback. Alda kept getting good jobs. He played Milton Green, Jack Donaghy's father in 30 Rock. His humorous, emotional performance earned him another Emmy. He was in The Big C from 2011 to 2013. At 79, he played a blacklist criminal mastermind and received another Emmy nomination. Even in his 80s, he kept going. Ray Donovan starred Alda from 2018 to 2020. His character was embroiled in Hollywood's mysteries. Still working at 86, he returned for Ray Donovan. Movie in 2022. He maintained acting and didn't hide his Parkinson's diagnosis in 2015. Alda didn't mind his shakes in Marriage Story and subsequent performances. He believed demonstrating it normalized the illness. He risked much in 2016. He joined Louis C.K.'s odd raw web comedy Horace and Pete. No advertising or press releases, just episodes silently released online. Alda played bitter elderly bartender Uncle Pete. One of his darkest roles, reviewers adored it. They considered it his best effort in years. Alda was honest about Louis C.K.'s controversy. He added, "I like him as an artist, but he did wrong. It was difficult, like the show, but Alda never hid uncomfortable facts." While all this happened, Alda wrote. He avoided ghostwriters, writing by hand. His debut memoir, Never Have Your Dog Stuffed, was a 27-week bestseller in 2005. He recounted unpleasant events, including his mother's paranoid schizophrenia, afflicted knife attack on him when he was 7. His second book, Things I Overheard While Talking to Myself, after a Chilean health concern. His third book, If I Understood You, Would I Have This Look on My Face, explored communication, a topic he'd been studying for years. Hosting Scientific American Frontiers. Alda wrote from 3 a.m. every day from 2005 to 2017. To 5 a.m. Over 4,000 mornings, he did this. He appeared in 12 films and 3 major TV shows. Over 2.7 million copies of his books were translated into 23 languages. The Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science, which has taught over 15,000 scientists how to present their work, received $8.4 million from him. On July 31, 2018, morning came. Alda, 82, announced his Parkinson's on CBS This Morning. But this wasn't sympathy. He wanted no sympathy. His diagnosis followed an unusual event.